Good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. Today we have with us Deana. Deana, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Deana Smith. I am the executive director and owner of Learning RX of Jacksonville Beach, board certified cognitive specialist, and a big supporter and fan of homeschool families.
Oh, nice. Take us through it. How did you get here? How did you get to Learning RX?
Sure. Well, my background is education, early education. Special needs somehow came at the forefront of that, and kind of always felt like there was something I was missing as an educator. I'm sure a lot of us feel like that, but just in that classroom environment, it was like these kids are not intentionally not focusing, or even behaviors that, are unwarranted. I felt like it was deeper than that. And I never really got answers as an educator, but probably about 15 years ago, I came across a doctor in functional neurology, and he started explaining to me more about the brain and how connections and neuroplasticity works. And I was completely fascinated by it. And I had my own child tested, and that really gave me so much passion because I dealt with a lot with my oldest child. He was diagnosed with ADHD, the inattentive type. He also was diagnosed with social anxiety, and he did struggle a lot in middle school.
Homeschool families. Homeschool Yo Kids Expo and Homeschool Beats Academy are teaming up to bring you a day of real support and real inspiration. Come explore curriculum and enrichment, meet trusted vendors, and connect with the homeschool community. And at our featured Expo stop, meet Homeschool Beats Academy and see how students ages 7 to 18 can create original music through beat making and production with parent-friendly guidance. Get dates and details at homeschoolyokidsexpo.com. And I never really understood, and nothing really ever helped. So understanding him, like it was auditory processing for him. So there's these underlying issues that we have that live further down in our brainstem that can cause, these cognitive issues that we're seeing. So we're seeing these symptoms, and even if there's enough symptoms, they can clump in together and you can get diagnosed. But that doesn't define anyone. It's never stating what anyone's potential is, and learning that all of this can be significantly improved because of that neuroplasticity of the brain was like a game changer for me. So I changed my trajectory and just went into brain training. And then recently I moved to Jacksonville from Atlanta, Georgia. And I was looking into a franchise with my brother-in-law and my sister. We were very passionate about serving the community and just in general about brain training. And we really just loved Learning RX's model and the research. The research to me is in the top, if not one of the top most researched brain training centers. So that really drew me towards Learning RX and just the one-on-one aspect of it, because it really is giving you, like, you're not in a group. You're getting that one-on-one targeted training that makes everything automated. So that's how I came with Learning RX. So this specific center in Jacksonville Beach is fairly new. We had our grand opening last September.
Okay, nice. Well, congratulations. Nice.
Yeah.
And it's a franchise, you said?
Mm-hmm. It's a franchise, yeah.
So it's nationwide?
It's actually worldwide. We're in 40 countries.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yep, it's called Brain RX outside the U.S. Mm-hmm.
Homeschool families, are you ready to refresh your plans for the year? Join us at the Homeschool Yo Kids Expo. Meet curriculum and enrichment vendors, discover new programs, and connect with a community that gets it. all in one place. Come with questions, leave with real options. Get event details and register now at homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com. That's homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com.
Okay. Oh, outside of the US it's called BrainRx. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And you were in early childhood, so you taught in elementary?
Mostly like pre-K. I dove into like maybe kindergarten a little bit, but not like full time. My passion back then became more like childcare management. And I was doing grant programs before school, after school. And that was kind of all by fluke too, just the way it happened. I was with this really great company for the first probably like 10 to 15 years of my life, right out of college. And while I was in college, I worked part-time, and it kind of just grew to one of the biggest, I would compare it to like a YMCA, after school, before school, serving communities that are, in that grant arena, and just, it was fantastic. And then
You were doing that in Georgia?
I was doing
Georgia?
that in South Florida.
Oh, South Florida. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then probably around 2000, I don't know, probably like in the 2000 teens, I would say maybe 2009, actually, specifically, I moved to Georgia. And and then shortly after that, I got into the whole functional neurology realm and brain training, and I've never looked back. I'm so passionate about it, and I've worked with so many homeschool families over the years.
Your kid has music in them. They just need the right tools to let it out. Homeschool Beats Academy teaches kids ages 7 to 18 how to make real beats at home on their schedule, in their own style. No experience needed. Grab the complete First Beat Kit free at homebeatsacademy.com. That's homeschoolbeatsacademy.com.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so, we're big advocates for that community.
Okay. And you say you had a lot of issues with your oldest. And that's what kind of pushed you into the study of like, okay, what is this and how can I help him?
Because it's so frustrating as a parent to have a child that they have, a lot of times you're going to see some really great strengths, and then you'll also see things that are not so great and weaknesses. And it doesn't always make sense. You can come up with all of these accommodations or compensate. You can do prizes and behavior charts and sit there and try to make things easier for them. But it's a coping skill. It's like a Band-Aid. You're not really hitting what that root cause is, right? It's like taking a cup like this and having a tiny little hole at the bottom and just keep dumping more information, right? If this was the brain, into it, and it's just going to keep leaking out. So it's this cycle that we all go through as parents. We spend, 4 hours a night reteaching homework that, sometimes we don't even understand how they're teaching it in the schools at this point. I mean, we're tired, and I was exhausted because my son really struggled with friendships and social, because he had this auditory processing thing that nobody on his IEP ever mentioned to me. It created background noise being, overwhelming for him, and he couldn't filter out that background noise, and certain words would blend. So when he would say to me all the time, "Wait, what?" I had his hearing checked. I'm like, "Wait, what is going on? Like, this is ADHD, like it just never made sense until I looked at these underlying issues. And when he went through brain training, it really helped working on those root causes for him. Again, night and day change. It was, so I just became super passionate, and I've seen such miraculous changes, over the years, and just, it's just a passion project, really. I love talking to other moms because I love to give them hope, because it's not just the hope, right? Like, it's hope backed by results.
Yeah, I was gonna say you come across. Well, I come across a lot of posts asking for help or asking like what to do. My child suffers from ADHD and or like whatever it may be, but it's something, and it's just like they need answers or help in general, and it's nice to know like okay, there's assistance. Okay, there's
Yeah.
assistance. So Learning RX does a brain training. You call it a brain training.
Yep, we call it a brain
So
training.
is it like a reprogramming? What is it? Like, what does it look like?
So it looks like a bunch of fun games that you're
Okay.
sitting down with this brain trainer coach. And it's not tutoring. That's a very big misconception that a lot of, and a lot of times like parents are looking for a tutor, they will run into us. It's just, this is like holistic approach. It's out of the box. And it's a lasting change. So if a student needs help with a certain subject, maybe they're trying to get an A and they're just having a hard time with a concept, that's great. Tutoring can help with that. We're deeper than that. We're looking at when you are constantly having these struggles, same kid, different school year. We keep hoping, oh, maybe it'll get better. Maybe he's just a boy, or this is just due to that, or whatever it is. But when you have these disconnects, if you will, because it's ultimately all about those neural pathways and getting them to connect. And the beauty of the brain and what we do in this brain training is we are creating new neural pathways. And the brain is just like, think of it like a muscle. You work out at a gym, right? You fatigue the muscle and it grows. It can change. And that's how the brain is. It can change. And so working with that neuroplasticity in these targeted drills that we're doing, a lot of things that we're doing would, like, for instance, I should start off with the core cognitive skills that we really work on. So we look at these essential core cognitive skills, and I'll do a quick little, if it's okay. It's not a test, and I just want you to feel it. But just to give you an idea how we use all of these 7 skills, if I said to you, who's the first president of the United States? You would say
George Washington, right?
Right, okay. Right. And then if I said, okay, now I want you to spell Washington backwards in 6 seconds.
What? N-O-T, what? H?
Just feel it. You don't even have to do it.
Okay.
I just want you to feel it. So you're using these core cognitive skills that all need to work together to see how that would play out, right? Like your logic and reasoning, that's the ability to give you the strategy to even figure that out, right? And then we have these gateway cognitive skills like our attention. If you can't even engage, you're not even going to know what I asked you to do. Your processing speed, how fast you can process all of this. Your working memory, that's huge. Holding on to in the short term what I just asked you. So those multi-step directions. And then your long-term memory, that is how you can pull that Washington right out, right? And then we have this learning model, which shows like a little filing cabinet, which is kind of like, okay, now I know this, it's stored in my knowledge bank. This is just going to be automated. I already know this. If I said, what state do we live in? Florida, these things are just in your brain. They're there. And then we have the auditory piece of that. So how, you sounding out these letters, right? You've got to put these codes to this, the sounds that are the English language. And then we have the visual processing piece. And you probably can picture the word backward. You probably see like that N-O-T, and then maybe it starts getting a little foggy. But that visual processing is also a big piece of that, right? So all of those skills need to be working together. And sometimes what just naturally happens is we have some of them all the way up here. Some of them are working over here. Some could be all average and some could be below, but we've got gaps. And those gaps create those neural pathway signals being missed. So think of it, I overuse this analogy, but like a Wi-Fi connection, because it's really true. Like when you're in 5G network, everything processes quicker. When you're not, things can kind of slow down and glitch and get stuck. So we're all about, in these brain games that we're doing, it's based off the initial assessment that the child gets coming here. And so then it's tailored and targeted towards that child's specific program. So some stuff that we do, it's all one-on-one, face-to-face live training. Even if we have a remote program, that is still with a live person in real time. So you're doing things like what we call memory digits. We have attention arrows. Those are my favorite. Different colored arrows, and you might have seen this before, pointing in different directions. There's so many things that you can do with that will really challenge your brain, right? So first of all, your eyes are tracking with that, with rows of arrows. So we're working on different visual tracking pieces with that. But also you're focusing on direction. So you can say, okay, I want you to tell me the direction. Ready, go. And then we would start out left, right, down, left, right? And then everything will eventually on higher levels go into what we call a metronome, which you've probably heard of. A metronome.
No.
A metronome is just like a beat when you're doing music or sports, right? It's just all about rhythm and timing. And what it does for our brain is it automates everything. So at the trainer will just start on the beat, and then the beats, the tempo goes. It could be every other beat. It can be faster. It can be slower. And then all these different activities. It could be even something, we have what we call a brainy ball, is playing catch with the trainer to the metronome, right? And then you're doing it every other beat, every beat. It's all about making everything automated. So some of the stuff will work on your visual processing, some of the games. Some of the stuff can be, tangible. They can be little shapes and work on your visual spatial orientation. But there's certain things that are going to work on your logic and reasoning. They're just all tailored games. And I say games, but, they're drills. And the kids typically love them. And I say kids because that's our main clientele. But we can help anyone from age 4 to 104, really.
Nice. Okay. Yes. Because it's, you laid out a lot.
I know, it's a lot.
But I guess it helps to explain it that way because it shows all of the components that have to work together for your brain to really process information. And I'm like, Dad, what? Because I have my what moments.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, do.
Yes, and because our brain doesn't stop developing until 25, I guess it's crucial for us to really train it early on. So, okay. For those, because this doesn't have to be a neurodivergent thing or anyone who's on the spectrum or anything. This can just be for anyone, right?
I love that you said that. Yes. We are so behind in preventative care for our brain. Nobody really seeks any kind of help until you've got something wrong. And I did go to a convention a couple years back, and I found it interesting. They were saying how where we were in the 1950s for heart health is where we are today for brain health. So,
really?
Yeah, because nobody is understanding, we've got to foster our brain development. Look at our senses, all of our senses. We are taking in things. That's how our brain on a very lower level of that brainstem, think of an infant. That's what they're going off of. They're going off of involuntary motor movements and their senses when they're born. So our senses play a very big part, right? If we're taking in too much of something or too little, we could have low body awareness. We could be picky eaters if we're, over or under smelling. Our sense of smell can connect to that. So there's all these things in our brain that we just don't realize are happening But the more we know, brain training is definitely the future. And it's a way to get a lasting change. That I probably will repeat over and over again because it's important. You don't want something that's some, temporary solution, like, okay, it's like doing a race, like you can win one race or you can work on, your ability to win all the races, like instead of focusing on one test score, focus on the reason why you're struggling. Focus on the reason why you can't pay attention, why your child can't sit in their seat in the classroom, because we're not made to sit still, right? Like homeschool families, they get it. It's typically just an alternate way, right? Because it's not that traditional way of sitting there listening to a lecture. We have to move, right? Like our body needs to move to pay attention. And it's not a child's fault, but typically they get punished. They go down on a behavior list. Oh, you're fooling around. You fell out of your chair. It's so hard to sit there. And then if you have lower body awareness or certain things that are just, not where they should be, it makes it that much harder. So it's frustrating for a lot of parents. So we do, a lot of workshops. We love to go into schools and speak to families, or, we'll just do some help for teachers, because that was a huge thing with myself. Like if I would have had and understood that it wasn't a child being manipulative, it wasn't their fault, even anything they can control, and then understand some ways to make things better in that classroom environment. So we do, a lot of that with teachers, but just getting that word out there and letting parents know, there's other methods, medicated or not, kids can come here, but some parents are looking for alternatives. And, the research has shown in the past that that goal is very achievable.
Nice. So you're talking about alternatives to the medication, to
brain training,
medicating.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long does the training last? It's dependent on the individual.
It is. So there's an initial assessment. And then from there, the average program is probably about a 6 to 9 month program, that somewhere in there. But if you think of it this way, this isn't something that everyone is going to need to continue to do, right? This is something that, okay, this is a chunk of time, it's a commitment, but this is a lasting change. This is going to be something that we're going to monitor too. I bring up the research a lot, but I think it's important because this research that we have, we have over 40 studies, 17 of them, or probably more at this point, have been peer reviewed and published. They're randomized, controlled studies, which is usually the gold standard. But we pride ourselves on that research. We have a whole department of research that is constantly giving us, more data and more data. And it's just important to have and know that this is a lasting change. So, I always tell families, go look at the research. That's the best you could do, is listen to a former student that has come through the program. And we've got, tons of those around the world, or just look at the research, because it's not meant to have to keep coming back. And we do monitor that post-program. So about 6 months would be the average, I would say.
How often, for 6 months? So three times a week. Okay. 3 times a week. How many hours?
It's an hour and a half typically each time. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we have a remote program as well.
Nice. Okay. What's the average age that you work with? What do you see a lot of? What ages do you see a lot of?
I would say the average age, elementary is probably, but I would say probably when you start to shift from that learning to read to reading to learn to where now I've got to read. Are my eyes fatiguing, right? A lot of times that's another underlying issue of things like inattentiveness, ADHD, or dyslexia, right? Our eyes cannot be working together and crossing the midline. We can have eye tracking that, our perception is our perception. We don't know any different, but what we could see symptoms of would be fatigue and just, eyes needing to reset, hard time going from board to paper. Kids that are interested, right? There's different types of attention. So we could have kids that parents are like, I don't get it. If they like the book, they can read that for hours. But when it comes to, because there's different types of attention. So there's just so much that most people aren't aware of that we can actually do organically to see pretty significant improvements. And these are life skills. It's not just about grades in school. It's about, having your child going out in life with that executive function that they need, to be organized and to get that job and to make sure that they have that ability to have and be motivated. A lot of times, the lack of motivation can come from that lack of connectivity in the brain.
Okay. How, because early on you said that our brain health is the same as in the 50s in comparison to what our body, our overall health or our body health?
Well, just in the preventative care, right? So
preventative
care. Right, like back in the 1950s, which was before my time, but like with my parents, I guess, whatever they were doing back then, we know so much more about what we can do to work on the heart. We know more about how exercise is helping and certain foods. And, it's just come so far. And with brain health, we're just more behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that, or is there research that shows our brain health, how am I trying to put this? Like with screens, because
I was hoping you were going to say that.
I was trying to figure out how to say it properly, but you know what I'm trying to say. Is there a correlation between our brain health not being where it needs to be, or could be rather, because of the time that we spend on the screens now?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And there's some great books out there. And it's that instant gratification that we're all getting, right? We're all swiping, everything's at our fingertips, even as adults. And what you're doing typically when you are on video games specifically, you're getting that dopamine fill, but you're getting it like ding, ding, instant gratification, reward, reward, reward. So when you're coming off of something like that, your brain has a withdrawal. And that's where you'll see kids that can have really good overall behavior become like, no, because it's like coming off of like a sugar high. You're getting such a dopamine hit, and then to just put that down is hard. So the more screen, you're getting like that whole, there's those blue light glasses you can use, but the lights that are coming through are going to also affect your visual system. The content that you're getting, it matters. Overall, screens, yes, 100%. Screens are you're getting artificial stimulation, right? You're not really outside. You're not smelling and feeling, right? Like you're not out in the wind and you're not feeling the concrete or, the grass. You're just sitting there at a screen. So your senses aren't really going, and our brain does develop through all of our senses, our environment and movement. And you're just not getting any of those things by sitting in front of the screen. So balancing that out, this is the age of screens, but trying to balance that out. That's why I love that we're one-on-one. brain training. We have what we call Brain Lab, which is brain games on a computer, but that's not a part of that one-on-one training. That's live. And I really do think we are missing that piece. But yes, there is lots of research that just shows so many things about screens and how that hinders. That's a conversation we have with our parents when they come in, because we want to make sure that their child reaches full potential and just let them know everything that could stand in the way. And that is one piece of that. And same with their diet. There's certain foods that can cause inflammation, and we would never know. Our gut health is our second brain.
Yes. Speak more on that, because that is like, that's just as important. Like our gut health, or just what we put into our bodies in general. Like, I think a lot of people don't recognize just how much of an effect things have on us. I talk about my nephew. I remember I was watching my nephew one summer. He was like 4, and I gave him a bag of Skittles. And I will never forget. He's like 21 now. He's 21, 22 now. But when I will never forget it, because it was just so like, oh my God. But he was just like, he was high. Like, he was just like, like, it was just a switch turned on. I don't even think he had finished the whole bag, but it was just so wild to see the effect of candy, the effect of candy in real time like that. Because we always talk about kids being on sugar highs and and I watch my girls do it too. But it was just like, I will never forget that, because it was just like, oh my gosh, who is this? Right. What did I do?
Yeah, nutrition, nobody really looks at that either. I mean, there are a lot of people that are looking into that now, but you can really experience that. And if you do elimination of it, like for instance, when I was pregnant, I stopped having caffeine. That's what the doctor tells you. And I just remember after my first pregnancy forever ago, coming back, I was like, oh, I can't wait to have a Coke or whatever. And all of a sudden, the reaction I had, I don't to this day drink caffeine because of that. And it's so like, you wouldn't know the difference again, unless you try to, eliminate that a little bit and then reintroduce it. It's really good there's panels, right? You can see what you're sensitive to on a cellular level, right? By getting a blood draw. There's environmental panels too. You never know. You could have been exposed to things like lead or metals. There's just so many things that we just don't look at.
And it all goes together. Like, it all goes into the functioning of ourselves.
Yeah.
I stopped eating meat in 2020, and I just I feel great though overall. But I tell people all the time, I don't go around promoting that other people should do it. I tell people that I figured out what worked for my body.
Right. That worked for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, because it could be blood type. My sister's getting into like figuring out what to eat for her blood type. And it's so funny because she was reading things and she's like, oh my gosh, I eat this all the time. I think like mangoes was up there that she shouldn't eat for her blood type. She's like, I love mangoes. Like, but she suffers from gut health also. Like, her gut it bothers her on a regular, and so she's just trying to figure it out. But it is just about what works all together for our body, and it's a process figuring it out.
Oh yeah, it is a process figuring it out. It sure is. And then you've got picky eater kiddos that they want the same. They want the same chicken nuggets and the mac and cheese. And if you even change the brand, they're going to know. And so then parents get overwhelmed at the thought of that, thinking, okay, my kid's already a picky eater. How am I going to start eliminating things like gluten or sugar? That just sounds way too overwhelming, but it really doesn't have to be, because I feel like there's, at this point in time, so many options that, substitutes for it that are way better than they were before, and I mean, I try to do my best because once you realize about your gut health, it's hard to ignore that and be like, okay, I'm just going to eat anything.
Right.
You know, how that's affecting all kinds of different things, not just like a tummy ache. It could affect your focus. It can cause brain fog. It can cause behavior issues. So yeah.
Yes, all of that,
All of
that. And it's like, once you know, it's like,
Right.
that now it's like, if you do it, it's like, why are you being mean to yourself? I tell people, I be telling my kids all the time, just say you don't like yourself. Just say, like, oh, go ahead and
Right.
eat it. You just say you don't like yourself. Like,
Right.
because it's like, why are you doing this to you? Because you're doing it to you. If you know what the effect is going to be afterwards, it's like,
Yes.
is it
Yeah.
worth it? Like, is it worth it? Because it tastes so good.
It does. It's that quick, like
Yeah.
chocolate. That's my weakness. I mean, I sometimes I crave chocolate, and scientifically, I guess I don't know if it's just women, but women even of a certain age, I feel like, when they go through that stage in their life, I don't know, chocolate sometimes becomes like, thank you. And then I'm like, did I just eat that? Like, why? I spend my whole day trying to move and get exercise in and eat right. And then all bets are off, for one
in the
moment.
blink of an eye. Yep.
Yeah, we're all, it's tough. It's definitely tough, but.
With all that you know and understanding of the brain health, understanding how your cognitive development works, everything, how do you self-care? How do you make sure that you are balanced?
That's really great. Me personally. So I try to, this sounds pretty, I think most people will have heard of this, but being out in the sun, being exposed to the sun, a lot of times when we're working or, just even like a lot of times schools, when you're in a public school or anything, that there's no windows, because it's usually a safe building to go to, like for a hurricane or anything. So you don't get like a ton of sunlight. Being in the sunlight and moving. And that is something that honestly, I have to push myself at that. It doesn't just come easy to go out there and be like, all right, it's time to move, whether that looks like resistance training or Pilates, or I like to run, and I'm not like a great runner by far, but I feel like just getting steps in a day, helps a lot. So I try to do that. I do stick to a special eating routine that I actually have followed the fast metabolism diet. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I have heard of that one. Yes.
I didn't really know what I thought about it, until I did it. And it's not, super fun to have to eat every 3 hours. You have to be very strict. But then after, you can eat that way, like for instance, I mostly eat sprouted grain bread. That's nothing I have ever done in the past. There's different methods, have different, suggestions, I guess, but I do like the fast metabolism diet. So it's like the maintaining part. But then, it comes down to if I'm out and it's someone's birthday and I really don't eat sugar or try not to. But then again, I don't love sugar substitutes either. So you've got to everything's a balance, I feel like. So if you're watching TV, make sure you're doing some kind of physical movement. Try to balance that out. If you're sedentary for a little while, go out and just go for a walk, on the bicycle. So I try to be intentional about movement. And I will tell you that it's a struggle when you're working and working mom. Sometimes you just want to go home and just sit down. You don't feel like, I've got 5,000 more steps to do or go to the gym. But the biggest thing I will say is taking care of your mental health. And that is something that, we see in social media. There's so many things now. and just it's escalated to the point where we see such young kids struggling with anxiety and depression, and it's so sad. And just being intentional about feeding yourself with positive thoughts, like affirmations.
Yes,
that is something I really, really do for myself. I do tons of like subliminal ones because your brain is still going to take it in. Even when you're sleeping, if you fall asleep with like headphones on and it's telling you, you know, things that you may not believe, like I am smart, I am strong, I am safe, you know, and like as you're sleeping, the part of the brain that will argue, no, you're not this, you know, is asleep, and your subconscious is going to take it in no matter what. So, you know, things, just making sure that you are not around negativity, you know. So a lot of times when a child's in school, if they are being bullied, or, you know, the teacher is constantly on them and they start to feel, I'm being like, I'm here again, I know I'm going to get in trouble, I don't know how to fix it. It's, you know, it can really start to weigh on their mental health too. So I try to be intentional about my mental health and just trying to, you know, do those positive affirmations and surround myself in environments that are fostering positive, you know, vibes, and not be in that toxic type, whether it's a friendship or, you know, a group. And just challenge my brain to do things that are hard things that I put me out of my comfort zone, because that's creating a new neuro pathway.
I love that. Look, because you know the science to back all this. So
I try.
You know why you need to be doing this.
I take care of everybody else more than myself. I would sit there. I can help anyone with a panic attack. I could sit there with you. I can relax you. I am intentional about it. But could I be better? Probably. I feel like I just worry about, you know, everybody else. And sometimes I forget that self-care, but it is essential. It is essential to be around positivity, like for yourself. If you're getting negative talk against you, or, you know, that's going to feed into that part of your brain that is going to believe it at some point, and it's going to cause, you know, things like depression, anxiety. So
yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm a lover of affirmations too. I'm gonna share something with you when we finish recording.
Oh yeah, I love that.
One more question for you. If our listeners didn't hear anything else during this whole conversation, what's 3 things you want them to take away?
Sure. To never give up hope, to look into alternative methods, like more holistic type approaches, because there is always hope. Don't ever just accept this is my child's full potential, because honestly, nobody knows what anyone's potential. There's no doctor or anybody that can look inside someone's brain and say, oh, you got this diagnosis, this is your life. No, we have no idea. No one does. So why not try something? I would also tell people to, you know, get out there and do things to foster your brain development. You know, it can always change, but as you had said earlier, when we're younger, it's faster. So it's ideal, right? So don't put things off, because you're going to end up with, maybe you had like this much of a gap, and then as time goes on, yeah. And if I could, as a mom, I could have got my son in a program like this when he was 4 instead of 14, it would have been his experience. It would have been night and day, and he really struggled in middle school. It was bad mentally for him. So, yeah.
Aww. Thank you for that. And with what you've learned and the trials and tribulations with your own son, now you've been put in place to help other families. So
I have. Yep.
Yes.
That's my passion.
Yes, trust the process. We will definitely have all the links available for Learning RX in our description.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you coming and sharing with our
Yes.
families. Because I tell you, I see the posts all the time. Help me. Like, help me.
Right. And you want to help, right? It's like,
Yes.
wow. And, sometimes one other thing would be people look on the base level. Oh, it's a tuition-based program. A lot of times people will go for what insurance covers first. And I get that,
Yeah.
I've been a single mom most of my parenting. But I will say that I was able to do it. There's ways to do it. Don't let that be a factor. Look into it. Don't just like randomly be like, oh, nah, go the easy
Yeah. And are you all with the Step Up program and things of that
We
nature?
do.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
We take Step Up for students. We also have
Nice.
some financing options as well, like over longer periods of time. For monthly payment options, and there's just different ways and different options. So
Nice. Good. Good.
and we're
Parents
excited.
need
We're
to
going to
hear
be
that.
at your event. You guys are coming to Jacksonville, right?
We are. We will be
We'll be
there.
there.
I think this will be posted after we get there, though. But
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well,
but yes, you all will be there. We are excited to have you all and
Yeah.
check out your center too. So that's cool.
I
But
have
yes,
to
and
ask
I'm
one
glad.
thing.
Mhm.
Where are you? It looks like you're in a bus.
Right now, I'm in an RV. I'm in
I'm
our
so
RV.
curious. It looks so fun.
We renovated. I was supposed to be sharing and all that good stuff. I haven't made videos yet, but yeah, we renovated and we painted and did the floor over and all this good stuff. So it is a bit more funner in here than it was when we traveled last year. But me and the girls did it. I have a 9 and a 12-year-old, so this is us. Look, and I
see
laugh
you
and I
got
joke.
this.
Oh yes. Oh, vision boards are important for me. So that's my vision board, my most recent, vision
Love
board.
it.
But yes, I always need those reminders. I need all of that. Affirmations are my
Yes.
thing. They're my jazz. They're my
Love
jazz.
it.
So
I love it.
thank you.
Yes.
Well, parents, understand that this is not a journey you have to do alone. The help is there and seek it. Do your research. Just understand that there is hope. Like she said, don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Understand that there is a solution. We just got to get to the root and not try to put a Band-Aid over it, because that's what a lot of programs do. Put Band-Aids. We're trying to root it out. So
That's right.
So seek out the
Lasting
help
change.
and assistance. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I love it. In the meantime, in the between time, parents, homeschool your kids.
Yes.